All right, the last thing we need to learn before we can stop and take a test on decimals is we have to learn how to divide decimals when we have to round the quotient. And again, you already know how to divide decimals, but this causes some trouble. Because if I had 7 3/10 divided into 28 5/10, all right, the first thing I'd have to do is I would have to divide, or I can't divide by a decimal, so I have to make the decimal a whole number by moving the decimal one place to the right. But if I move the decimal one place to the right here, remember I have to move the decimal one place to the right here and bring it up. Now again, after you move it over, it's the same as dividing whole numbers. Does McDonald's constantly sell cheeseburgers? Divide, multiply, check if too big, subtract, check if too small, bring down. And again, I divide the front into the front. 7 goes into 28 4 times, but it goes exactly 4 times. So a better guess would be to use 3. And again, that's because of the carryover. So if I use the 3, I move back one place and put it on top of the 5. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 7 is 21. Did I guess too big? No, I can subtract. And when I subtract, I borrow from the 8, make it a 7. 15 minus 9 is 6. 7 minus 1 is 6. Did I guess too little? No, 66 is less than 73. Now again, since I'm dealing with decimals and not fractions, I don't want to write my remainder as a fraction. I want to make it a decimal. And how do I do that? How do I continue to divide when I have nothing to bring down? I add a 0. Remember, you can add as many zeros in the back of a decimal as you like without changing the value. So I add a 0 and bring it down, and now I repeat the process. 7 goes into 66, it goes 9 times. So then I multiply. 9 times 3 is 27, carry you 2. 9 times 7 is 63, plus 2 is 65. Did I guess too big? No, I can subtract. If I borrow from the 6 and make it a 5, 10 minus 7 is 3. Again, I have to keep dividing, so I have to add another 0. And remember, I can add as many zeros as I want. So now 7 goes into 30 4 times. However, it's not 7. 73 is bigger than 30, so it goes 0 times. Whenever you bring down and the number here is smaller than the divisor, it goes 0 times. 0 times 73 is 0, remainder 30. And now I can add another 0, and now I can divide. 7 into 30 goes 4 times. 4 times 3 is 12, carry you 1. 4 times 7 is 28, and 1 is 29. Did I guess too big? No, I can subtract. If I borrow from the 3 and make it a 2, makes that a 10. Borrow from the 10, make it a 9, makes that a 10. 10 minus 2 is 8, and I didn't guess too small, so I add another 0, and I bring it down. Again, I divide the front and the front. 7 and 8 goes 1 time. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 7 is 7. Did I guess too big? No, I can subtract. If I borrow, I get a remainder of 7. By the way, I'm running out of board. But my answer is already the 10,000ths place, which in reality is most probably something you don't need to know. Okay, if you're in real life, you most probably don't need to go past the tenths, because a 1/10 of an inch is so small you couldn't even measure that with a saw blade. A saw blade is thicker than a 1/10 of an inch. So if you were dealing in real life, you might not even want to go past the 1/10. If you were dealing with money, you wouldn't want to go past the hundredths, because a hundredth of a dollar is a penny, and that's the smallest amount of money you can have. And if you're a scientist and you really want to be exact, you most probably wouldn't go past the 1,000th, because even with the most intricate scientific devices, they most probably don't measure accurately more than to 1,000th. So again, what I would do here, if I was in real life, I'd decide on how accurate would I want to be and round that place. But this is not real life, this is my classroom. So in my classroom, I would tell you something like round to the nearest to round to the nearest hundredth, then I have to divide to the thousands. And you say, why? If you want to round to the nearest hundredth, stop at the hundredths. No, you have to go one more place than what you're rounding to, because to round, you have to look at the place behind to know whether to go up or stay the same. So to round to the nearest hundredths, I find what's in the hundredths place. I look at the number behind is a 4, so the 0 stays the same. And then I keep everything in front the same, and I drop everything behind. So if this was money, it would be $3.90, rounded to the nearest hundredth. Okay, and again, the key when you want to round decimal quotients is go one more place than what you're asked to round to. If you're asked to round to the nearest tenth, then divide to the hundredths. If you're asked to round to the nearest hundredth, then divide to the thousands. And if you're asked to round to the nearest thousand, divide to the nearest 10,000. But if you don't, you could be going on and on. I've actually had people who added like 20 zeros and went all the way down one whole piece of paper and on the back. That's ridiculous. You don't have to keep going, because if I'm rounding to hundredths, I'm going to drop everything behind anyway. So once you get one more place than what you're rounding to, then you can stop the dividing. And this is how you round quotients when you're dividing decimals.